All right, so moms across the country are hoping to find some time to relax during this Mother's Day weekend. A Pew Research Center poll finds that moms are more likely than dads to say parenting is exhausting. And a larger share of mothers also say that they are stressed out by the roles and responsibilities that come with being a parent. So let's bring in Lisa Palmer now. She is a psychotherapist and the founder of the Renew Center of Florida, which offers reality-based wellness programs. Yep, I need some of that. So Mother's Day is coming up. Why do moms think that they need to take care of everything themselves? Because I know I think there's definitely a mom brain and a dad brain, I think. And I know one of the things that I'm guilty of is looking like 12 steps into the future to determine all the possible things that could go wrong and then trying to get ahead of them.
Right.
Such a great segment, such a great question, because moms a lot of times are wearing multiple hats these days as the caregiver, the everything, the mother, the father, the everything. So they're definitely overwhelmed, and especially after the pandemic with so many problems arising with their children, they're stressed out more than ever, for sure.
So there's this recent poll that found in opposite sex relationships, mothers spend more time with kids than they do with fathers. I thought it felt like old.
Yeah, like
old timey.
Well, you know what? I saw that, Vlad, and I thought that's probably not the case in my family.
Yeah.
But we don't look. We're journalists. Like, we don't live like sort of normal lives all the time. So I thought, if that's what the survey says, I can believe it. That's still the thing.
Yeah. So I guess then the natural question is, what are some ways that dads can get more engaged?
Well, a lot of dads can get more in touch with their emotions and their own feminine side, because I find that a lot of men have repressed that aspect of themselves because they see that as weak or whatever. So a lot of times what happens is the fathers are very distant from their kids emotionally, and then the mothers are kind of left with that part of kind of dealing with the emotions and dealing with the nurturance part. And so not only that with taking care of the emotions, but they're also going to work and paying the bills, and it ends up being a lot. So they're kind of wearing a lot of different hats, and men need to find their own balance as well with their own self-nurturance and being present emotionally for their kids, and as well as providing for the family if they can so do so. I
think sometimes guys think, I'm necessary, but I'll really be necessary when they're a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm going to teach them how to play, now I'm leaning totally into stereotypes, and I recognize that, but I'm going to teach them how to play baseball or whatever. But when they're teeny tiny, maybe she can do it. And obviously sometimes there's clearly a physical connection, if you're breastfeeding or something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, look, in my case, when I take my paternity leave during the summer, I intend to be there every single minute of the day because my wife will be back at work. Now I get home from work, and as soon as I get home, it's like, she's like, see ya. She doesn't leave, but it's like she gets on, she does her own thing, and now I've got to do the feeds, I've got to put her down for naps, I've got to wake her up and change her. I'm the only one who gives her a bath. I'm the bath daddy, and
but you know what, Vlad? I think what she's saying is, for a lot of moms, that may happen, but then the moms go to do laundry, and then they go to wash the dishes, and then they feel obligated to sort of carry all this other stuff as well.
100%.
Right, and people really need to balance their lives, men and women, to have a balanced family, balanced relationships, feel good about themselves, and to pay attention to their own needs. Because I think as a parent and a caregiver, we're always worrying about everybody else, and even as a boss, we're wondering about our employees and having to deal with all of the all of the things that people are asking of us. And so we really have to look at ourselves and look at what are our own needs and where do we need nurturance in our own lives, and how can we meet those needs, and not just be a human doing, but a human being, and really take those times and for ourselves and those simple moments and that space. And sleep is so important because a lot of parents are not getting the sleep that they need to rest. And when we rest, we digest. So that is really important for our mental health, emotional health, taking care of your physical health, going to the doctor, getting those labs, figuring out if you're healthy, if you're in hormonal balance, how you're doing. So really needing to take care of our health mentally, emotionally, physically. And if you need therapy, you need some more support, go get it. Don't be ashamed of that. Get coaching and take the time for yourself.
And what about other people in the family? What do they need to remember when they are watching mom do everything?
Mom needs her support. Mom also needs her space. Mom needs a breather. Mom can't do it all. Everybody wants mom to do it all, but mom needs her space because we need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of everybody else. And I think that sometimes moms forget that because we're so busy worrying about everybody else and wanting to make sure that everyone else is okay. And we're not taking the time to nurture ourselves. So we're losing touch with our own feminine aspect and our own ability to receive and our own ability to heal and to be a really good healer for anyone else, whether you're a parent, you're a therapist, you're a doctor, or whatever you're doing in your life. You really need to find that balance within yourself and heal yourself. So take that me time.
Yeah, I think that's a good advice. You know, just because you've always seen mom do something doesn't mean she has to be the one that does it all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes moms start a practice of doing everything, and then everyone gets used to it.
Right.
And that's an expectation.
You don't want that.
But no, so yeah, maybe you can start a practice where you get the rest of your family involved in stuff, but also, maybe just ask her if she'd like you to take over a task.
A friend of mine said to me, who's got 4 kids, said to me before my daughter was born, Vlad, don't be the dad who's lapped by mom. In other words, inevitably, like somebody will say, hey, so what are you doing as far as sleep training? And you go, I don't know. My wife is like, got the schedule. And it's like the fact that you're, whatever she says. And he's like, you don't want to be that guy. You want to be every step of the way. The decisions that are made, the understandings that you have on how to raise the child are being done in lockstep, as opposed to, she does this and I do that. The separation of responsibilities is not ideal.
That's really good advice.
Lisa, thank you very much. Really interesting information. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
And happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. You too.